Hi, my name is Terry Bates. I'm the director of the Cornell Lake Erie Research and Extension Lab, and here with another video blog. Today we're just going to talk about bloom prediction in the Concord industry. So in all of agriculture, you want to try to predict what kind of growing season you're going to have, and that'll help you to determine, what kind of crop you can ripen, and how things may go for the season. And I have to say, it's tough to even predict what the weather forecast is going to be 2 weeks or 3 weeks in advance. So to be able to predict what's going to happen for the whole growing season is pretty difficult. But we look at different models based on our growing region and where we're growing grapes up against Lake Erie, and we tried to come up with a prediction of when bloom is going to be. And why is that important? So the processors and the grape growers would love to know exactly when bloom is going to be, because in our region, bloom sets the clock for the season. If we know when bloom's going to be, there's a pretty set time between bloom and the onset of ripening, and then from the onset of ripening to harvest can be more predictable. So being able to get a handle on when bloom is going to be sets that clock for the season. Okay, so we grow grapes in the Lake Erie region. So here's a little picture of Lake Erie. And where we grow grapes in the region is right up along the lake. So we are heavily influenced by Lake Erie and all of the Great Lakes in our grape growth, our phenology, and when bloom date is going to be. So we decided to take a look at Lake Erie and see if it could help us in predicting when bloom is going to be in our area. So what we did is we came up with a model based on the rate at which the lake warms up in the spring. So there are years when the lake warms up pretty quickly and other times where it's delayed and cool. And because we're so heavily influenced by the Lake Erie influences our air temperature. The air temperature influences how fast the grapevines come out and will influence our bloom date. So we look at this model, and so we kind of make a joke out of it. We say the Swami of Lake Erie comes out and tells us when bloom is going to be. And what we do is we look at a model from April 1st to May 1st, and we look at how the lake warms up. So it's not the absolute temperature, but it's a rate at which it's warming up. And basically the background behind this model is in very warm years, the lake warms up and it stays warm. And then when it's cool, it stays cool. And these lines don't tend to cross back and forth. Since they're all fairly parallel, we can use it as a predictor. And these little black dots just tell us historically when bloom happens. So somewhere around 1200, I call them lake degree days, is when bloom will happen in Concord in our region. And we use that to predict bloom. And so there's a nice relationship. Again, it's a weather predictor. It's not perfect. So there's a fair amount of scatter between these dots, but we draw a line between those dots, and we use that to predict. So if I know in this particular year, on May 1st, I've accumulated so much heat in the lake, that's going to predict when our bloom is going to be in Concord. And this year, I think it says on June 8th, we're going to hit bloom in Concord, and we'll see if that turns out to be true or not. If you have any questions about this type of work that we do at the lab, or any other questions about the viticulture work we do here, you can leave a message in the comment section under efficientvineyard.com.